Snickety snick snick, snoochie boochies. It's finally here, the first big movie of 2017, Logan. Now, Hugh Jackman has made no secret that this will be his last time performing as the iconic character Wolverine. So does he send the character out on a high note? Well, let's get right into it. So Logan takes place in the year 2024. Mutants are now very scarce, they're almost extinct. The movie doesn't really explain how or why that happened, which I believe is another side story that may be explored in another film. But Logan is now working as a limo driver, just trying to make ends meet so he can buy medication for Professor X. Professor X, as you can imagine, is really old, and he has become victim to these epileptic type seizures where if he doesn't control them, then he releases these telepathic attacks on everyone around him. So Logan has to make sure that he can keep Professor X medicated, and he also has the help of Caliban, another mutant who will help take care of the professor with him. Now, Logan at this age, he's very old, he's decrepit, he's got battle scars all over his body, his healing factor doesn't work too well anymore. I mean, he's got a little stub claw now that he has to actually pull out every day to make sure that it extends fully, and he's in such a bad state that in the very first scene of the film, he's challenged by a group of Mexican gangsters trying to jack his car, and he can't even take these 5 Mexican gangsters on without getting hurt. That's how bad he's become. Now, speaking of that first scene, this was my reaction watching it. What? No! Oh shit! What? Yes, yes, yes! That's how Logan got Wolverine right. I mean, I've grown up with this character since I was a little kid. I've read the X-Men comics my whole life. I know these characters like the back of my hand, and Wolverine especially was a character that really spoke to me. I mean, as with many of the comic book fans, I mean, Logan is like one of the #1 popular comic book characters out there, and there's many reasons why. So just to see his character translate to the big screen in such a way that is so accurate to the persona that I've imagined through the comic books for so many years was just a pure joy. He's no longer hampered by the PG-13 rating, and yes, this film is rated R, so you'll see a lot of violence, you'll see a lot of claws going through heads, claws going through body parts, dismemberment, and you know, it's all good, yo. And you know, honestly though, the violence in this film is not just for the sake of having violence. I mean, this is Wolverine. This is who he is. He is a man of conflict, and he is constantly battling this berserker rage within him because he's a pure animal at heart. So it's all he can do to control his animalism and act like a normal human being. But when he's pushed to that edge, he will release that berserker rage, and when he does, man, get out of his way, because arms are falling off, heads are being chopped off, and innards are being thrown all around, and so you don't want to be around when that happens. And this film finally shows Wolverine in that light. I mean, other films like X2 showed little glimpses of it, but because of that PG-13 rating, they couldn't really show the extent of that violence and rage that comes out. But from that very first scene of Logan, you see that rage come out when he's, you know, when he's being challenged by the Mexican gangsters. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be the film that I wanna see about Wolverine. So Logan, he's living this quiet lifestyle, he's basically just waiting to die at this point. I mean, he really has no reason to live except to take care of the professor. And then this young girl comes along named Laura, and for those who read the comic books, you will know that she is actually X-23. So Logan crosses paths with Laura, and circumstances dictate that he now has to take her under his wing and take her to this land called Eden, where her and other young mutants can be taken care of and find solace. So that's basically the premise of the film. It's pretty much a road trip where Logan, Laura, and Professor X are all traveling to take Laura from point A to point B. Very simple, but this film is very character driven, which I loved. It doesn't have to concern itself with, you know, about a dozen different characters and giving them their own piece of the limelight. This is purely a Logan piece. It's all about him, and like I said earlier, Logan has always been a man about conflict, whether it's exterior conflict between him and bad guy A or bad guy B, but also that conflict within. And this film really shows it in such a dramatic way that it just can't help but draw you in and feel for his character. When I was watching the film, I really felt like it was a classic tragic hero tale, the kind that you would see in old Shaw Brothers movies. If those of you who grew up watching Black Belt Theater here in Hawaii, many of those Shaw Brothers films were about tragic heroes, and there were stories exactly like Logan, where you have a man who's kind of seen it all, done it all. He just wants to be left alone, and yet circumstances come along where he has to go into one last battle, and although he doesn't really want to, but he's forced into it. And that's kind of how this the story for Logan works. So I'm watching the film, I'm like, yes, this is just like the kind of Shaw Brothers films that I grew up watching, which made me love the film even more. So Hugh Jackman, I mean, he's been playing Wolverine for 16 years, I believe. I believe this is his 8th or 9th appearance as Wolverine. So he could have just phoned it in, honestly. He could have just done what he's always done, but he's really, knowing that this was his last performance, I really felt like Hugh Jackman poured his heart into it. You can tell that he loves the character as well. It's not just a paycheck for him. And he really did Logan right. And kudos to director-writer James Mangold as well. I've loved his work ever since I saw Copland, you know, like 20 years ago, but he has really shown an appreciation for the Wolverine character as well, starting from The Wolverine, which is the last Wolverine solo film that came out a few years ago, the one that took place in Japan. Just the fact that they took that Wolverine storyline from Japan and made that into the film, that really showed me that he really appreciates the essence of the character. Yeah, the last part of that film was a little silly, but the parts leading up to it were very true to the Wolverine character. And now that, knowing that this is the send-off for both Hugh Jackman and Wolverine, you can tell that they really poured their hearts into it and really wanted to do things right, which they absolutely did. Patrick Stewart, of course, is always great as Charles Xavier. He kind of played that cuckoo old man to a T, but at the same time brought a lot of gravitas toward the film as well. And you could really see the bond between Professor X and Wolverine throughout the whole film, and rightfully so, because Professor X was the one who rescued Wolverine when he was in that animalistic state and was able to bring him back and make him more normal and join his school for gifted youngsters at his estate. But let's talk about Laura, the young girl. Man, she just was awesome. I mean, watching her, I kind of felt like I was watching Natalie Portman from The Professional again. She had that kind of aura about her, that kind of quiet, cool confidence. And honestly, she gives one of the best performances of the film. I mean, she doesn't really speak much. She's not a character of many words, but her facial expressions, her anger, her reactions, her loyalty, her want for her need for justice, it is all translated through her facial, her eyes, her expressions, her rage. She just brought a lot of emotion to the film, and she also made the bond between her and Wolverine very organic as well. It wasn't an automatic connection between the two, let's say. They had to earn that connection and earn that relationship toward the end that makes you feel what you should be feeling at that point of the story. Now, I'm gushing on and on about the film, but it's not perfect. Let's just put it out there. There are some pacing issues a little bit. It could have been maybe 5 to 10 minutes shorter and without losing much to the film. Also, the writing was a bit spotty at points where you would kind of question, well, why doesn't that character just do this, or why don't they just do that? But that is simply nitpicking. Logan is a perfect send-off for the character and for Hugh Jackman. There is a lot of appreciation and loyalty to both the character from the comic books and from the films that we've already seen. The storyline is great. The dramatic beats are all there. The action was awesome. I mean, the rated R really brings a whole nother level of reality, and the film is just so grounded. I mean, yes, this film is about characters with healing powers and who can read minds and have claws, but it's a very grounded film despite that. I mean, it's a very realistic film. It's a film truly about characters and humans and emotions. And speaking of emotions, man, this movie, man, it will bring you to tears. I'm serious. I mean, yes, it's a silly comic book movie and all that, but man, that's how effective director James Mangold and Hugh Jackman and all the characters for that matter, that's how much they invest you in the film and the characters, where you can't help but feel the emotions, man. I mean, you'll be tearing up, I swear, and if you're not, then you're cold inside, I tell you. You're dead. I cannot think of a better send-off for Wolverine and for Hugh Jackman. It's a great film. I'm gonna watch it over and over again. The characters are great. The performances are great. The action is awesome. And Logan, this is the movie, man. I mean, this is the movie we've all been waiting for. This is the real depiction of Wolverine that comic book fans have been waiting for, and you're not gonna regret seeing this film. So Logan gets a 9 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please comment below if you've seen Logan and love the film as much as I did, or maybe if you disagree with me, put a comment below and let's talk story about it. And if you'd like to see more videos from my channel in the future, please give me a subscribe and give me a thumbs up as well if you like my video. Thanks so much.